I can definitely hear myself. That's okay. I'm definitely not muted right now. Maybe I was before. We'll blame that on technical difficulties. It was that little imp guy that keeps running around. What's his name again? What's that guy's name? G'day, Kyle. That little buffhead. I forget his name. He's always running around doing stuff. Well, anyway, let me just repeat what I said. It was great stuff too. Hopefully it's as good on the second time through. This is Bo Peep and Fluffernutter, these two little champions that we already painted in our last few streams. Wanted to bring them out so we could just basically talk about the colour palette. We've got the bright green goblins riding, pretty easy. We'll do that again. That's straightforward. But the pink elements is what's tying the two together. So we will lean into that pink colour for Ruffles, the little chicken. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's not morning for me here in Australia. It is, in fact, late evening. And I'm excited to do some painting. So this is the first time I've painted a model today. I normally paint most days for a few hours. So I'm excited to be doing it again today. How good? How good's life? So usually my process is to start with a little bit of wet in wet. So mixing wet paint together on the model creates some interesting natural variations between tones on the model. It's pretty easy to do. Can't really go wrong. One thing people do get worried about when they do this is they feel like the paint's going to be way too thick. It's going to obscure detail. That is a possibility, a concern, but it isn't one you should be worried about. It takes many, many successive layers of an acrylic paint done very thickly to obscure the detail. Even on a plastic figure such as these, I've already talked about how cool these figures are for a plastic figure pre-assembled. The detail is pretty awesome. So, and we're doing this wet on wet because we want to establish some not uniformity, irregularity. There you go. All over. We want it to feel a little bit weird, a little bit unusual, different things, different colors happening. So you can replicate this by just painting the sections on, but sometimes serendipity provides some of the most magnificent effects that you'll ever achieve. That's what I like to tell myself anyway. Boom. Waldo. It was Waldo that turned my sound off. A little idiot. We're not going to do pink on the skin, much pink, nor are we going to do pink on this crest. We could do it on the crest, but I feel like that's maybe a little bit too obvious, a little bit too easy. So I think we're going to try and do pink feathers. And maybe some other little elements. Maybe his hat pink or something like that. Colors his hat in the artwork, dark color. Cool. We're going to leave that to dry for a bit. Normally I'd whip out the hairdryer, but I want to do a lot of the model in base coats first before we start thinking too much about other steps. So we're going to again do some wet in wet blending here. And we're going to start with a brown, a relatively dark brown. We're going to mix a little bit of red into that. So we go from brown to red. And then we're going to go from red to pink. When you are wet blending with a color that is light as opposed to a color that is dark, a darker color will tend to muddy it up. So you want to usually blend a little bit less with the existing colors when using a light color. And just in overall, like in terms of how dilute the paint is, I'm actually not diluting it much at all. If your paint's too dilute in this stage, you instead have a problem of the paints not covering or not mixing well together. So you actually want it slightly thicker than probably you would normally default to. All right, very good. A bit of that gear going on. And maybe we will do this thing in pink. Let's maybe do it a darker pink. We'll establish that in a moment. So I'm getting close to finishing this little box set. There's one more figure to paint after this one, which is actually my favourite of the figures, which is the little dude riding the wood chap, a little guy with the axe. Absolute superstar, my favourite model. Saved it till last. Love painting wood grain, so I'll be able to show that one next time. And then we'll do some bases and put them all on bases. And am I allowed to do giveaways? Can we do a giveaway for those on here? Something. There you go. Organise that amongst yourselves, Wyrd team, please. Just figure out some way to do a giveaway for the models, please. Great. Good work, team. Thanks for subscribing, Bruno. Good for you. Stumpy. So when I'm in this preliminary stage of working out what a figure's going to look like, we do a little bit of interpretive dance with our brush all over the place, trying to establish some values, some areas of light and dark that we can then tweak and refine. Sometimes it doesn't look great, and we can fix that. Other times it looks perfect, so don't need to fix that. But I think it's really, really, really important at this stage to not be too constrained by this is what my model's going to look like. If you go, I'm going to paint this element in X and this element in Y and this element in Z, and then you get to the end of the model and you're like, great, my model is completed. There is a little bit of missing part of the magic of the process, which is the thing that makes painting fun, which is looking at the model as you're progressing, making mistakes, making decisions based on what works for the model as you're painting it. All right, these little jobbos, I think we'll do them in this brown. No, I've changed my mind. I'm going to use a different brown. I'm going to use this brown. This is a more tan brown. So for display painting models, I tend to use a lot of similar techniques to what I'm using now, maybe just a little bit more time spent. But for gaming figures such as these, I think the focus needs to be on achieving a result in a reasonable amount of time. And so I use a lot of techniques that are designed around speed as opposed to designed around achieving the maximum result. Because, mate, we could all sit here with a tiny fine detail brush and knock this over for like 6 hours. It'd be fantastic, but ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Just a little remix of that song, which I watched on YouTube. Okay, fantastic. Looking perfect. How easy. Okay, let's do a little bit of airbrushing. You may be asking yourself, Deno, what are you doing? It's a fantastic question, really. I don't think I did any airbrushing at this stage on these previous ones, so we're doing something a bit different. Always good. So just to show you my airbrush, this color is a very dark red, saturated red. So we're going to start by mixing a little bit of thinning agent in the cup. We'll go some of this red. So just so you can see, this is roughly the consistency of the airbrush paint. So relatively dilute, but it's still doing a little bit of coverage, a little bit of work. So what we're trying to do here is create a little bit of lighting, adding a little bit of pinkness to the skin. And because this is an airbrush and the way that it applies paint to the model, we are going to also have a little bit of shading done by virtue of the fact that the airbrush is only going to catch the lower areas because of the angle that I'm shooting it at. Perfect. Great. Easy as that. G'day, Rapid Transit. What's going on, champion? So when I'm cleaning my airbrush out, I put a little bit of cleaner and then I use a synthetic brush so that it doesn't matter if I stuff it up, and just scrub around the needle, which is where the paint tends to collect, and usually a little bit on the end of the needle as well because the paint tends to dry on the tip. Use a little bit of backflow, which helps kick paint out of the cup and out of the nozzle area. Shoot that out into my little airbrush cleaner pot, and then I do the same with a little bit of water. Once you get used to doing that, it takes very little time, and I don't have to do a lot of major airbrush cleans. Probably clean my airbrush once every month or two, sometimes less than that. I don't think I've cleaned it for about 2 months at this point. But yeah, just easy to clean when you do that. A little bit of an ink, a little bit of contrast paint here, so you can see the way that that's changed up the dynamic of that skin tone. And we're going to use contrast paint to further tweak that. But this time we're going to concentrate a little bit more on shadows. We're going to be a little bit irregular with our application because we don't want this to be perfectly smooth. Chicken skin. We'll do around the eyes though. All right, great. So we've got a little bit of paint that hasn't quite dried in there, so I'm just going to use my brush to pull a little bit of that paint out to help it dry quicker. So we can continue with those areas. I'll grab the hairdryer in a sec. That'll help. Virik PL, g'day mate, thank you. It is a, sorry. It is very much a practice-based skill set. You can't say to someone, cool, this is the consistency you need and this is the air pressure you need to be able to use your airbrush effectively, because it simply does not work like that. Those two elements change based on what you are doing, what type of application you're trying to do, the paint brand that you're using, the thinner you're using. So rather than be like, this is what you need, X, Y, Z, I try to explain the consistency and the type of application that I'm doing so that I can explain why I've made the decisions I've made with the pressures and with the dilution. So if you have any questions about the airbrushing and I haven't answered them well enough, please pop them in the chat so I can answer that. All right, great. I do feel like this pink may be a little bit too much pink. We'll worry about that another time. Yeah, absolutely. The temperature, the color of your dog or cat, all factors in. So we're just going to wait for a little bit more of that chicken skin to dry before we go tweaking around with it too much more. A few little recesses that haven't dried properly. I could use the hairdryer, but it's very loud for wonderful people. So we'll just plot along with some other elements. Oh, that little chicken wing at the front there, is that supposed to be chicken wing coloured? It is. Awesome, mate. Yes, fantastic. Enjoy it on YouTube. So we're going to use stippling technique here. So stippling is basically exactly the same as every other paint technique because it uses a brush to put paint on the model. Fantastic. But the only difference is instead of using lots of smooth strokes, stippling is where you do lots of tiny dots. So people that are good at stippling do it a lot more than me. Probably can explain what I'm doing wrong here. One of my friends who's a painter in Australia, he does a lot of stippling. He uses it to blend colours together and do all sorts of other fancy stuff. I don't do that. What I want out of my stipple is a regular and irregular appearance. So you could do a similar thing with dry brushing because of the texture on the model. The skin's got lots of nice little dot bits. Because I'm probably going to use another layer of contrast, trying to create a second textural element in addition to the actual natural texture on the figure, just another textural element as well. So you can see how I'm leaning into the pink a fair bit here, and why we may actually move away from the pink for the head, the crest. Just maybe too much. Never thought I'd say that. Too much pink on my figures. I love painting models pink. One of my favourites. Bit of that colour, bit of black. Bit of water. Glorious. All right, this looks like there's a little bit of feathery bits down here. Just pop that in there. And she goes. Might do these ropey bits now. Do them in that tan colour. I like to use a lot of airbrushing in my process, in my flow, and sometimes I do that really when you don't need to use an airbrush, and it actually takes more time to use the airbrush than to just do it with a brush. Just really like that tool. I find it very fun to use. And since painting is supposed to be about enjoyment, I want to do fun stuff. That is a little picture of my dog, by the way. Rapid Transit's posted there. Little Hugo. He went to doggy daycare today and he dressed up because it's Halloween. It was Halloween at the dog daycare. He dressed up in a little Batman outfit. What a legend. That dog. So good. All right, someone explain to me, please. This guy's riding a giant chicken. He is shooting a pistol of some description. He has a cowboy hat and looks kind of like Abraham Lincoln as a chicken rider. Why does this guy have a violin? Someone tell me, because I cannot understand. Now, don't get me wrong, it's glorious. Just why? What is he doing with the violin? Is this a band of troubadours that go around and sing for their goblin friends whilst riding their mounts? Surely not. Is there any other instruments? He has an artist's song. This guy reminds me of one of those chaps from that band, The Deep South. In hell be in good company. Do they really call it a fiddle? There you go. Little feet. The aesthetic of this game never ceases to amuse me. I'll take that from someone who painted a lot of bottles. Very amusing. This little dude's feet is sticking out of you. Look at this. You can see this little dude's feet and the toes of his feet just hanging out there. What an absolute legend. Good, 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 good. All right. Got a little bit more of this stuff going on. Cool. So I think I have decided that we will go with red up here. Too much pink. So we'll move this towards a red. We'll start with a magenta base. So it's a more purpley red. That'll be fun. I'm very, very quick with my brush movements. You may or may not have noticed. That is a time spent painting skill. Can't teach you anything special. Oh, look, I am living in the wonderful land of Australia, and much as we've appropriated a large percentage of American culture, Halloween hasn't ever really landed in Australia that much. I also don't have any children, so the only activity that I am participating in for Halloween is eating an egregious amount of chocolate, and that is about it. But as I said, we did dress up little Hugo in a Batman costume today, and he's having a great time with it. He really loves being dressed up in a Batman costume. My little dog. That's it. I'm not a very spooky chap. Yeah, not. I mean, it certainly has been making more of a deal in recent years. My sister has 3 young children, and they've gotten dressed up and walked around their neighbourhoods. But it's been a neighbourhood thing where they've all sort of got together and been like, okay, we've got these kids, let's go to these few houses and we'll make sure we've got stuff for them, type of thing. And yeah, it's certainly been more popular recently, but I wouldn't consider it happening a lot over here in Australia. We also don't really have Black Friday either, for that matter. It just doesn't exist. That's so great that he's got a little thing there. Fantastic. All right, so we'll definitely need to do some airbrushing now, because this all needs a fair bit of stuff needs to dry. So actually just paint this cleaver in that color and this pot as well. Always good to carry a pot on your chicken's back. You ever decide you want to cook him, you've already got the pot ready to go. I don't think this chicken would fit in this pot though. Just quietly. All right. So again, I'm just going to do a little bit more stippling. A lot of this stuff's dried now, so we can get a bit more texture. And if you're not super keen on stippling, a little bit of the old dry brushing will work a treat on that sort of surface, because of the very nice texture that's already there, already exists. Okay. Do some proper highlighting now. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to use this pink to now use the texture of the feathers that exist on the model to add feathers. Pink feathered chicken. I love it. Love it. G'day, Minimancer. What's going on? I'm painting a goblin riding a giant chicken, and it's great. Oh, bit much paint there, Deno. Come on, son. Pull yourself together. Pull yourself together, man. This guy would be good at a game of chicken. Maybe you could race for pink slips. Ba-dum-tsh. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Try the chicken. It's really good. Sorry about that. Sometimes I think I'm funnier than I am. Most of the time I think I'm funnier than I am. All right, let's dry my chicken. Come on, little chicken buddy. All right, we'll switch to a proper brush, a tiny brush. I'm going to paint some actual little strokes on the feathers. If I could summarize my technique in one word, it would be loose. But loose doesn't have to mean bad. Particularly for gaming models. I think it's important to genuinely remember that 90% of the time, people will be looking at your models from about 3 to 5 feet away from their faces. And the only thing that matters at that distance is not the immaculateness of your blends, the smoothness of your skill set, but rather how much things pop from that distance. Sometimes you get close to some figures and you're like, oh yeah, that's not painted as well as I thought it was. Who cares, mate? Made you look. So it's too late now. I've already achieved the goal. I've already won the game. The cake is a lie. Anyway, the point of my rambling was actually just worry less about making everything look perfect and worry more about making things look cool. And sometimes having some aggressive brush strokes that are still there and look a little bit out there is cool. All right, great. Let's paint this little chappo's eyeballs in. Great. Do his little tongue. Lots of fantastic elements of rope on this figure. I do enjoy a rope element. Those look great when you do a good wash. It's a cheap and nasty highlights. Fantastic. Bark, bark, bark. All right. So we're starting to establish a picture for what the model's going to look like. And this is one of the things I was talking about before. It's pretty cool to be able to sit back now and go, well, I don't like this. I think I might change that to a different approach, different color. Topless. What's happening here, superstar? Little Hugo boss. What a champion. The guy. All right. So when you're painting your chicken's eyes, particularly when your chickens are absolutely crazy like this one is, I think really dive deep into the crazy eyes approach. So rather than having consistent eyes, we're going to have some absolutely bonkers eyes. So we start with a desaturated, neutral, grey colour. You never want this first layer of your eyes to be white. Terrible plan. And don't do it. You do your little highlights of the whites of your eyes in a paler white, but never that first layer. That's a terrible plan. Makes your eyes look like this. And we're going to add our pupils, irises, whatever they are, coloured bit. So let's go crazy. This chicken's going to be looking back here. And this one's going to be looking down. Ooh, great. Actually, don't know what colour a chicken's eyes are. Colour of chicken's eyes. What are your eyes? Your eyes are golden yellow. Wow, cool. All right, we can do yellow. Let's use contrast. Make those chicken's eyes yellow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it is a great name. Hugo Boss. Got a great Instagram page, a great Instagram presence. Little Hugo. So to just talk about painting for a little second, you can see how quickly and easily. No. If you want to get really deep and technical on why my girlfriend decided on Hugo for the name, it is because that is the name of one of Hermione Granger and Ronald Weasley's children at the end of Harry Potter. That was her main reason. She also liked the name. She thought it was a very British sounding name, regal sounding name. We're going to have to get another dog now. Female dog, and call it Rose. So we've got both of Hermione and Harry's. Not Harry's. I didn't ship that. Glorious. Do love a little bit of HP. Won't diverge onto it too much, but yes, very big fan. All right, let's go a little bit of full on red. Where's a red color we can use? That's not a good one. There we go. That's a good one. Just like that. All right, I'm just going to make this beak. I'm going to make it be a little bit darker, like an evil beak, an evil beaked rooster. Great. I dig that. I use a drying retardant in my paints, a thinner and a drying extender. Something just helps the paint flow out of the brush a little bit better. It's called Joe Sonia Magic Mix. It's just a product you can buy from most art stores, particularly for things where you're trying to get smooth transitions and blends. Sometimes just make that a little bit easier to achieve because the paint flows a little bit smoother and it just dilutes a little bit better. So, easy as you like. I do think it's one of the hardest things that I try to explain or talk about or teach, I guess, is just that willingness to leave a lot of brush strokes. It can feel very, very uncomfortable if you're not used to it, just leaving gear all over the place. But it will definitely result in some more visually interesting. G'day, Farach. F3 Arach. Whichever you prefer. G'day, mate. Yes. Now we're cooking. All right, I'm going to show off a little tip with using some paints in a second, just to continue to do different things on the screens. Let's do a very wee white dot in these eyes after we just make sure we've done the crazy eyes. Whoa. All right, one white dot. Oop. Let's do two. Oop. Boop, boop. Whoa. Cool. Okay, what do we want for that color? Yeah, that one. Green ochre. Once this red dries, we'll go through some tips with using fluorescent paints. Fluorescent paints are very fun. All right, let's mix a little bit of this in with this. Get this nice color here. Delightful. Paint some ropes. Ropey, ropey. Ropey, ropey. Has this little chicken got bits of straw stuck in his leg? Oh my god, he does have bits of straw. This is straw, not feathers. Awesome. How did I do the straw on that one? Yeah, choice. Okay. Fluorescent paints. Let's talk fluorescent paints. I've got a fluorescent color here called fluorescent red, or in Spanish, rojo fluo. Great. I'm going to give it a good shake. I'm actually going to use my vortex mixer. Needs to be very thoroughly shooken. So fluorescent paints are just absolutely the most intense and vibrant and saturated pigments you can get. They will absolutely overwhelm everything you do. However, If you just try and take a fluorescent paint and you go, well, yeah, I'm just going to paint my fluorescent paint here, it very rarely looks any good. So instead, what we're going to do firstly is we're actually going to build up an area for our fluorescent color to be painted over using a white. So doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. Fluorescent color is going to do a lot of work to kill this white. This looks ridiculous at this point, doesn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. Great. Just going to make it, when I make it work, even more impressive. G'day, Ashenhold. What's happening? Champion! All right, so let's get a little bit of our red. And you can use any red. I quite like the Chimera red. So we're going to mix the red into the fluorescent red. So this is doing two things. One, it's actually helping the strength of the pigment by adding a more strong pigment. But we're also, we're just doing the first one. And we're going to do some thin layers over the top of this mixture of red and fluorescent red. This is going to take a couple of coats. But every coat that we do is going to soften those white bits, make everything look more intense. Yeah, they're very cool, mate. Very cool paints. If you've not used them before, they're very, very matte, and they'll probably make you take a step back the first time you use matte paints, like paints that are that matte. Because what you're used to seeing when you use paints that have a slightly satin finish is the light, the natural light, reflecting off the slightly satin paints a little bit more, and giving you the illusion of really great, fantastic blending. When you use matte paints, you don't get any of that. You just get your actual blends. So it can make you feel really, really ordinary, that you're a terrible painter. And in your case, mate, it's definitely not true. Could be true in my case. Thank you. So we'll do a little bit more wood grain talk on my next stream when we do the little stumpy. Wood grain's another thing where it usually looks pretty good. Just creating some irregular texture. He does look a little bit crazy. isn't he? Whoops. Ooh. Okay. So this is dried now, and we're going to do another little less, slightly less white. And we're just going to use the pure fluorescent red, but we'll just add a little bit of that red into it. And again, because this is so thin, it takes a couple of coats, which we could speed up if you wanted to with your hairdryer, which is great. Best thing I ever did was steal my girlfriend's hairdryer. I'm sure she didn't feel it was the best thing I ever did, but I certainly enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed it a lot. All right. This is all looking fine and dandy. Yeah, she wasn't stoked. She kept blowing up. Where's my hairdryer? Where is it? So I don't know. When did you last use it? She's like, in the same spot I always use it. Probably with some expletives. As my girlfriend at the time was Australian. Obviously, I knew exactly where it was because I was the one who used it last, but I didn't want to let her know that I knew that. That would have just got me in more trouble. You've been using it? Maybe. Is it in your painting room? Can't remember. I'm going to go. See ya. Broadly speaking, that's how the conversation went. And that's why I'm not with that girl anymore. Because I kept stealing her hairdryer. She didn't appreciate that for some reason. Oh, story time with Deno. Great. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm just sort of feeling like at the moment, now this is cool by the way, so you can see how intense this red is now. We may just go one last little layer there. The only thing that we have had happen here is we've lost the We've lost the contrast, we've lost the depth of shadow. So we're gonna re-add that. I'm going to use this black red color. I'll add a little bit of actual red. Hair dry time. Hair dryer. Great. And all we've got to do in this stage is just re-add in those lines. And I may even go a little bit of black because that's not dark enough for my liking. Glorious. Perfection. Very funny. I enjoyed it. Now, if this was my stream, I'd make an extremely inappropriate comment. Fortunately, it's not my stream, so I don't make that comment, and you will get to enjoy a little bit more time thinking I'm a nice person. That's next level painting right there. Absolutely. Was it Kenny Boucher? Because that's next level. That's another option. Go back long enough in my history, and you will certainly see a glorious mullet, some long hair, crazy long hair, and I'm quite partial to the usage of the word hirsute. Well done, you, sir. All right. Every now and then I just decide that I want to use my airbrush and I want to just add some more depth of shadow underneath, maybe a little bit more in some other areas, and maybe even a little bit on this section here. So I'm just going to go back in with this really deep red. It's almost a magenta purpley red. So we've got a pretty dilute color. If you can have a look in the cup there, you can see quite dilute. And so I'm going to be very angled with this airbrush. So we're going to go from just underneath and all we're trying to do with this is just add some more deep shadows, really dark shadows, because what we've sort of lost a little bit with what the process we've done so far is those really deep dark shadows. And it is the value change, the difference between the dark and the light that will really create an interesting look. Cool. Ashen Hold, this is an Iwata Eclipse HPCS. I wouldn't actually normally use this for my detail work. I am feeling particularly lazy at the moment. I do have a second airbrush that I use for more fine detail work generally. And that is a Iwata also, and it is a HP B+. It's a 0.2 needle in that one, I believe, and it's very fine indeed, very fine. So this is my detail brush. The other one just gets everything else. Cool. All right, I'm digging this. So let's do a little bit of this non-metallic metal stuff we all love doing. right, so this is little pots and pans. So yeah, I could probably answer that question a little bit with a little diagram on my paper here. So yeah, the first thing that it'll do, so the little needle goes through a cup, and the needle's obviously got a taper like so. So the wider needle, or the diameter of the needle, is this sort of part back here. It's not from the start. So when you have a thinner needle, as you pull the needle back through this little hole, it's a much smaller circumference of the hole to begin with, and so moving the needle back has less of an impact. So you get much narrower spray coming out of the airbrush. You tend to get this sort of shape, but it is always conical, so you will, as you go further back, you will get this sort of spray. However, because you've got less air and less paint coming out of this little gap between the needle and the ring, it does mean that you can get closer to the model. So you can be surface spraying this sort of surface from very, very close, and it allows you to work much, much finer lines. Now, you can still absolutely do the same sort of thing with a wider airbrush needle. So if it's way wider, the problem that you have, because the thinner needle diameters, they have a shorter tip because they have roughly the same sort of taper. So the longer or the wider needles have a longer tip. So what that means is you can get the same level of control, but it just takes a lot more skill, because your margin for error when you're moving your trigger back in this direction, for this, you only have to move it back a tiny way to get this. But for this, you need to have a longer distance that you have to move it back to be able to get this level of gap. So, and that, obviously, the further back you go, this creates a wider pattern of spray, like so. So, indeed, I can probably show you that, actually. So, this little HPCS has this on the end, which is great. I've obviously done a lot of cleaning on this bad boy. Let's get one of my little cleaning bits. Good. I just use a little Q-tip cleaning this thing. Good. So if you have a look, it's probably hard to see on this camera that I'm using for this stream, so feel free to re-ask me this question on my channel, mate, if you want more in-depth. But yeah, there's a very, very, very tiny hole in this one. And in this one, the hole is noticeably larger. So great. Well, that was fun airbrush tips with Deno. So, if you watch a real airbrush master at work, the size of the needle is almost irrelevant, because they have the level of control with the trigger that allows them to get to exactly where they want to have the brush positioned, and they just don't make mistakes, right? Us mere mortals, us people who aren't that good with the old airbrush, we have to be a little bit more focused on the product that we use so that it can cover up our lack of skill. Hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning this around. As a bit of a nuffy for the old airbrush and what it brings to my painting table, I really don't know enough about the technology inside it to be able to answer why X, Y, Z happens, but I know enough. I know enough to get by, which is important. This guy's got a beard. We will definitely make this little strappo of yours pink, my friend. Pink strap. Pink strap. Great. Okay. Let's go back to our little fun excursion into non-metallic metals again. All right, so at this point, because we are working on a team now, we may just compare him to the other chaps. So we've still got a similar palette between the chicken and the rabbit, but the chicken is a little bit more pinkish, a little bit more skin toned, even though we've got a similar magenta palette, which is cool. And then that skin tone also ties in a little bit better with the pinkish nostrils of the boar, which is very cool. All right, good. Looking good so far. What are we at? About an hour 20. Good. Good. Great. All right, we may just do a little cheeky bit of skin tone, goblin skin tone. You should know me by now, Topless. No idea half the stuff that comes out of my mouth, mate. Sorry for all the silly noises, ridiculousness. All right, so let's do the green. Get the skin looking similar to the other ones. So we're going to use a similar approach to what we did with the fluorescent color. Really focus on the areas we want light. Sees light. $5. If anyone gets a reference. This guy's got a little pot belly. How cool. All right, this bright green skin tone. Can use a bit more white. Almost looks like he's got shiny chrome green skin. How cool. Little feeties, little toes. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now we're going to take this glorious color here, which is called E Scorpina green. And when I say E Scorpina green, you may think I'm saying the Spanish name. The Spanish name is Verde E Scorpina, but then it's called E Scorpina green in English as well. Excellent. Potentially that was meant to read scorpion green, but I'm going to assume that E Scorpina is the English word they were going for. And I'm excited by that. And this is an airbrush color. It's a Vallejo Model Air color. So the advantage of using a Model Air color to glaze with is it's already diluted very thinly because it's designed to be an airbrush color. So you don't have to really do any dilution. But again, because it's designed to be an airbrush color, you get pretty intense pigment. It's not camping sex intense, but it's pretty intense. A little inappropriate humor for you there. Those of you who got it, give yourself a high five and make it crisp. All right. So we'll leave that green to dry. Nice one from Jim. Yeah, we'll just do a little Bobby Dazzler on these pants. And then we'll go for some blackish pants. Great. Good work, Frog Jim. He's got a pot belly, it's so great. Well, I certainly wasn't talking about your miniature painting, son. I do know Frog Jim from my personal stream friends, so I feel very comfortable making fun of him. Hopefully you'll all feel very comfortable making fun of him as well now. What helps me concentrate best when I paint? Interesting question. You'll probably get different answers from different people, and you'll definitely get a different answer from people who do streaming. It is not easy to concentrate on your little toy soldier painting whilst you're also trying to talk to people about your little toy soldier painting. Having said that, I find I am able to concentrate very, very well when I have something that is not requiring my attention, but is helping my brain to just tick over. So I usually like to put on sports in the background, sports that I can just sort of have a little cheeky listen to. In Australia, that's a sport like cricket, but for you great people in America, that sport would probably be baseball. So you don't have to be actively participating in all the time. Just have a little drone along to the commentators chatting about various statistics. Or a TV show I've already listened to or watched before. I find that very, very helpful to my concentration because, again, I'm just not actively listening, but I want something to just keep my brain trundling about. And then the final one is audiobooks. But I do find audiobooks a challenge sometimes because you do have to really listen sometimes, and that's not always what you want when you're painting. Hopefully that answers your question. Sports, television shows, audiobooks. Don't generally listen to music. Many people do. Yeah. If it's something that you're having to concentrate on, it's not great. It's not great for your painting mojo. Just something that can tick over in the background. Well, I've got to tell you, I think this one's going to be a new record for my speed of paint job. Not intentionally, but we've just cracked on with this one. It's been good paint job. I've liked it. Put a little bit of rusty colour into those things. Great. Jazz. Very cool. Okay. Let's give him a pink. Loosey goosey up there. No, I do not like that pink at all. I shan't be keeping that. Let's do his eyes while that pink dries. All right, I'm definitely not keeping that thing at the top pink. Speed definitely comes with practice. Definitely comes with practice. So the two goals don't necessarily need to be mutually exclusive. Just painting will be helping your speed. But yeah, sometimes you do need to make a conscious choice to paint quicker. Some of my mini painting friends think I focus on painting quickly too much. They're not the sort of friends you need in your life. I kid. They're great people. Oh, Ivons. I'm not sure I do want to become famous, actually. I've done it once before. Didn't enjoy it. That's big brain thinking there, Frog Jim. You know, I'm supportive of that message. You'll notice I'm painting this gaming model. I'm painting the back of that. So. Suck it back. Suck it long, suck it good. Look, I think we should keep that Ivons chap in there. I think it was a rookie mistake deleting that. That guy's just out there trying to help us. You know, doing his part to bring more joy into the world. Thank you, Ivons. I appreciate everything you've done for us. That's true, Top. I understood the assignment. Yeah, that's just crazy talk. Let the people have a voice. Let them offer us free follows. Just out there trying to do their best. What wonderful people. Free Ivons. Let's start a hashtag. Start a trending. Free Ivons. Definitely don't do that. Definitely don't do that. It's a terrible suggestion. Much better. What a cool looking dude. What a cool looking dude. This guy is absolutely. Great. A little bit of that one. A little bit of that one. Get that in those chompers, my friend. If you have very bad teeth. Top, we have one more after this chap. So that is the awesomest one, the dude riding the little tree branch. Stumpy, something like that. Tree branch guy with the goblin with the axe. Glorious. So that one's next stream. Then we're going to do some swamp bases probably for the stream after that for them. And then we'll do. We'll probably get stuck into maybe the big robot. We'll do some advanced airbrushing techniques on the big robot, maybe. Very big robot. Indeed, Minimancer, indeed. These people are from the swamps, after all. Show off how I make swamp bases. Should be good. One would hope, anyway. Well, it might put yours to shame, mate, but probably because I'm significantly better painter than you. No, once again, my swamp bases will just be, this is how we can do something quickly. Yes, many people have often said how humble I am. One of my great qualities. All right. Outstanding. All right. I've got some eyes. Got a chap with some eyes. Got a crazy bright red. Let's just have a look how this looks next to these chaps. I think his skin might need to be more yellow. Let's have a look. Yeah, that one looks different a little bit. Yeah, we might go a little bit more white on the skin and add some yellow to that green. Really pump it up. A little bit of yellow. There's some yellow. Some yellow here. I'll do. Right. Color theory. If you want a more vibrant, intense looking green, highlight with yellow. Great tip that. I'm sure no one's ever heard that one before. It's real quality like that you get on this stream from me. Absolute truth bombs. Q-tips with Deno. Be a new segment name. Hi everyone, and welcome to Q-tips with Deno. Today's topic: how to dilute your paint with water. Tip 1: use water. This concludes the segment. All right, that looks more yellow. I like it. Let's get a little bit of this going on up here for this side. Inhale, be in good company. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I don't think I've had milk for probably 10 years. I don't think I've drunk milk at all. Maybe cereal. I might have had some cereal, but you don't like, oh yeah, nice consistency milk in this fucking cereal today. But I've also never understood that expression, your paint should be consistency of milk. Wrong, sir, or madam, or whomever. Your paint should be the consistency of what you are trying to achieve out of your paint at that particular moment. Sometimes it should be the consistency of milk. Sometimes it should be a thicker consistency. Sometimes it should be the consistency of a warm salmon milkshake. It's up to you to determine that. I can't determine that for you, friends. Too thin coats. Don't get me started on too thin coats, Ashenhold. Don't get me started on it, pal. You don't want Deno to fire up. It's a beautiful day. Don't get me started. Why do two thin coats when you could do one coat and you're good? Two thin coats. Stop it. You got me started now. You fall down a lot, do you, mini-man, sir? Maybe get some Glad wrap or something, mate. Bubble wrap. Might help more than a couple of thin coats, mate. If you're falling down a lot. I want to go and get a doctor to check that out, pal. I'm letting you dignify that with a response. All right. Look, I think this chicken's just about done. So let's just have a quick review of the chicken alongside some of the other great friends, and just make sure that we all fit in okay. All right. Looking pretty cool. The team, great. Fun little lunatics running around. All right, let's do a little matte varnish with the airbrush. Seal off all that work we've done. Harmonise some of the layers a little bit. Alrighty. Just finish tweaking this airbrush clean. Boom, boom, boom. Give us a little hair dry. Alright, it's not quite fully dried, but you get the point of what the varnish does. It helps just soften some of the shiny elements, make everything look a little more homogenized, which is cool. One thing I do just quickly want to finish up on, so painting an interesting looking miniature for a gaming purpose doesn't always involve painting every single element. Sometimes what you need is things that pop out. So this red, this green, these little metal bits, and this skin tone, this pink. So there's other elements on here that aren't anywhere near as refined, such as this thing down here, other elements down here, the straps, but we don't need them to be. If we wanted to spend a lot more time on this figure and a lot more time on painting every little bit, we could, absolutely. But it isn't going to help the impact of the figure from a distance. And the impact of the figure is the things that catch your eye, the red, bang, the green, bang, this metal, the chicken. And you don't need those other elements because, again, this is about looking at things from a distance. This is quite similar. If you look at the pig skin, we haven't really gone all that heavy on the underneath pig skin. We've done not very much to the clothes. This whip's got nothing happening at all, but because of the focus on the green skin and on the yellow fur, we've got a really big impact from those two things. And the same can be said from this one. Again, we've got that pink bunny, which is the fun bit, thing that pops out. These are done reasonably well, but this is quite monotone. The pants are quite monotone. The skin's quite monotone. So, but it's about the impact of the whole piece, not just everything. So you don't want to have everything be humming with all of your best detail work that you can possibly do. So outstanding, friends. All right. Well, I'm going to finish up stream there. Only 2 hours to paint this chap, which is pretty fun. Good times. So I think my next stream's towards the end of next month, November. We're just kicking along with one a month at the moment, but there's plenty of other fantastic warm milkshake is very helpful. Two fantastic other painters, Ashenhold, absolute superstar. Definitely go and watch him. Who else is painting today? I posted it on my Twitter, so I'd remember this, and then I forgot to look at it. Some other people coming up in a few hours' time. Ashenhold's coming up at 11:30, which is an hour, maybe 2 hours from now. And then Haunted Miniatures later on this afternoon for all of you wonderful people at 3 p.m. EDT. Hopefully you'll stick around and check those legends out. Fantastic. Have a glorious day. Big Deno. Out.